everybody, welcome back to my channel. You're watching a Zoofo. Please press the subscribe button and bell icon right next to it. In the last video we have started the new chapter, that is reproduction in higher plants. Okay, in the last video we have studied that the structure of the flower in a simple way, as it is a basic. We all know the structure of the flower as it contains the reproductive organs, that is carpel and stamen, and coming to accessory organs, petals, sepals, etc. So today we'll study the pre-fertilization events, that is, in that let's go on with the stamen. Let us know the structure of the stamen. As we know that stamen consists of two parts, that is filament and anther, where anther is a bilobed structure as it contains 2 thecas in each lobe, so 4 thecas in 2 lobes, and it is bilobed structure, we know that. And that filament is a slender structure which is supportive for the anther. So this is the simple structure which we can see from the naked eye. Let's see the transverse structure of the matured anther. It is consist of a layers, that is 3 layers, namely epidermis, endothecium, middle layer, and innermost a layer called tapetum, and in between that it consists a group of homogeneous cells or tissues called as the sporogenous tissues. So these are the layers where it is a tetrad in nature, because the tears of the mature anther will be in a tetrad nature, as it possesses 4 microsporangia, as it is located at the each corner. So these layers that are outermost epidermis, which is very protective in nature, next to the epidermis endothecium is present, and next to the endothecium the middle layer is present, and next to that tapetum is present. These 3 layers, epidermis, endothecium and middle layer, they are protective in functioning and nature, and also they help in the dehiscence of the pollen grains when they will be able to come out. And coming to the tapetum is the cell where it consists more than one nucleus. It is nutritive in nature. It means it nourishes the cells which are present within it. Its function is to nourish or to give the nutrients. This is how the layers works or their function. You can remember it by the word TEEM, team. TEEM means T means tapetum, E means epidermis, one more is endothecium, whereas M means middle layer. So you can remember it as a TEEM, that is team, as it is very important for your exam purpose. They may ask you in the board exams, or it may come in the NEET or CET. So this is the structure or transverse section structure of the mature anther, where this is the basic. We have to remember it because it is a very important. So please remember, there are the 4 layers, that is a team. They are protective in nature, where the tapetum gives the nourishment. And coming to the microsporogenesis. What is this microsporogenesis? Microsporogenesis is nothing but the formation of the pollen grains or microspores from the pollen mother cells through meiosis, in the sense that in the tetrad structure where the microsporangia is present, in the homogeneous tissues called sporogenous tissues, they do give the PMCs or MMCs. PMCs means pollen mother cells. These cells are diploid in nature. These cells, pollen mother cells, undergoes meiosis 1 and meiosis 2 to give the haploid microspores. Means these, they will be diploid, whereas pollen mother cells will be diploid in nature. They are 2M. When they undergo meiosis, they give 4 gametes or 4 microspores. So these microspores are nothing but the pollen grains. So let's go on with the structure of the pollen grain. There will be in each tetrad 4 pollen grains will be, or 4 pollen grains or microspores will be formed. So coming to the structure of the pollen grain will be probably a spherical, or it may vary in the structure and the shape. Also in the size it will vary about 25 to 50 micrometer in the diameter. And that pollen grain consists of the two layers, that is outer layer is the exine and inner layer is the intine, and inside the mature pollen grain possesses two cells, namely vegetative cell and generative cell. Before that, we'll study this function of the layer, that is exine. Exine is the outermost rigid layer of the pollen grain, where it is made up of a sporopollenin, which is a very strong substances which cannot be degraded by the any enzymes or the any acids. They may ask you the question in the exam, please do remember it. And coming to the next layer, that is intine, which is resistant but not as the exine, which is made up of pectin and cellulose. And coming to the cells in the tapetum, in the pollen grain, that is one is generative cell and one is vegetative cell. Whereas the vegetative cell is the biggest cell, means it will be large and it possesses abundant food reserve materials, and it will be bigger in the size. Whereas generative cell is a smaller, which produces the male gametes, that is pollen grains. So the function of the vegetative cell is to have the or reserve food material as it nourishes. Coming to the generative cell, it undergoes meiotic division and gives the pollen grains. Generally in the angiosperms, 60% of the flowers produces two-celled stage, means two pollen grains or pollen grains are formed. Pollen grains in the sense, those are the male gametes here. Pollen grains are not the male gametes, they are the male gametophytes. Please remember this, they may ask you this question like, which is the organ which acts as the male gametophyte in the angiosperms? So that you can say pollen grain, because pollen grain is not a gamete, it is a gametophyte which produces the male gametes. So about 60% of the angiosperms possess this two-celled stage, where the generative cells undergoes division and produces two-celled or two male gametes. And on the other hand, this generative cell undergoes mitotic division and produces the three-celled. So this is 40% of the angiosperms shows the three-celled division. So this is how the structure of the pollen grain is formed. And here the pollen grain has its own applications in our on the health or on the economic use of our country, because pollen grain has the negative points, like it has allergies to the people, for the human beings, like respiratory problems, asthma and bronchitis. Though on the other hand it has a positive points, that we can use these pollen grains as the food supplements through the tablets or in the form of the syrups. And also the syrups and tablets are very useful for the increase the performance of the athletes and also the race horses. Not only this, there are many more uses of the pollen grains, and also these pollen grains are stored for years with the usage of the liquid gas, that is nitrogen, 190 minus 196 degree. And here these pollen grains are reserved for many years, so that they can be, because that the layer, we can store the pollen grain by the artificial method and also by the natural. By the natural in the sense, because the pollen grain will be possessing a outermost layer exine, which is a sporopollenin, which will be very resistant. This is the simple and easy structure of the pollen grain and the anther and also the microsporogenesis. So this is the microsporogenesis, where we have studied the structure of the stamen and the structure, that is TS, of the microsporangium and the structure of the pollen grain. Please do remember that in microsporogenesis, that the MMCs or PMCs, that is pollen mother cells, undergoes two times meiosis division and produces the tetrad spores. So this is how the microsporogenesis occurs. And in the next video, let's move on with the megasporogenesis, that is female reproductive organ, how the megaspores gets produced. Till that, have a good day.